be cognizant that we have admin and public works tonight at 6:30. So I want to make sure we have enough time for everyone to take a break right before it, use the facilities, grab a bite to eat, stretch, run around City Hall a few
Yeah,
times.
Joe's got to go run an hour before the next meeting.
All right. Well, all right, then we'll do that. We'll make sure we get done here. All right. Well, hopefully everybody had a good Thanksgiving and glad we can meet here today. I know we had rescheduled this, so it worked out fine. This committee works great and we get it done. So let's get started with then next time on the agenda, which is the roll call.
Member Edens?
Here.
Councilmember McCutcheon?
Here.
And Chair Garitano.
Here. All right. That was quick. All right. Next item on the agenda, the approval of minutes from the committee's October 28th, 2020 meeting. Is there a motion for approval of the minutes made by Councilmember Edens? Is there a second? Councilmember McCutcheon? Any questions, comments on the minutes? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the minutes are approved. All right, next on the agenda, number 4, we have the review of the proposed modifications to programming offered by the Department of Planning and Parks and the Economic Development Committee. So I do want to thank you for doing this. Just as a reminder, when we met the last time, we left off with kind of having the experts who are around this come forth with some ideas, and we've seen that in the attachment here. So I guess what I'll do is hand it off to who wants to kind of provide a little context on what you guys did and how you came up with it.
Well, certainly, Mr. Garitano, I can start, but I think it'd be inappropriate of me not to mention that it was truly a team effort. Mr. Cross, Mr. Jacqueline, Ms. Arnett, and I all worked together to come to what we hope is a reduction in the cost of some of our events, so as we can address this upcoming fiscal year in a more appropriate fashion, but also looking at just how we manage some of them as well. Those may not be reflected necessarily in cost reductions or fee increases, but more so just having an opportunity to reset, which I think is as important in some regards as just the cost associated with everything. If you all had the opportunity to review the spreadsheet, I can summarize it first by just stating that there are 4 events that the department is recommending be eliminated. Eliminating events is never easy because there's always a constituency out there that supports it, whether it be runners, hikers, and in one instance, those that attend the Hidden Valley Ski Resort Day, Wildwood Day. And so, like I say, they're never easy to come to a conclusion. And that's why we're glad you're all here to kind of make that decision either easier or harder for all of us. So first and foremost, the eliminations, it's the Family Snow Sports Day at Hidden Valley Ski Resort. We are proposing to eliminate that. One of the reasons, obviously, is cost, but another and almost equally important, if not equal in importance, is the fact that it's been tough to schedule it of late. The winters obviously aren't what they used to be. We're always scrambling to get what we hope to believe is a good snow day down at the facility. And from that perspective, we're not able to tell people when it is until almost when it happens. And sometimes that leaves some folks frustrated because they can't plan ahead, schedule a day, and know that day is going to occur. The next one is the Arbor Day event, the 5K. And it's an event that a lot of people do attend. We have anywhere from 125 to 150 runners and walkers. It's a family event. We have a lot of families. but it's never really escalated to the level we thought it would with a Friday night event and then dinner afterwards. We have a number of other runs and hikes, so I don't feel like we're negating that community or that group, that demographic, but it's just one that's never really taken off as much as we hoped, and probably with COVID-19, an opportunity to eliminate.
Hey,
As you know, yes, sir.
Joe, am I going to have to turn in my shirt here? Do I have to turn this sweatshirt in now if you're eliminating it?
Or
I'm
hold
keeping
on
it.
to it.
It's vintage now. It's
Yeah,
it's
hold.
one of a kind.
What's what? I'm one of a kind, or my shirt is. Yeah,
Sure.
but
Shirt.
I'm hanging on to this. This is a really, really nice shirt or sweatshirt.
Then the next item is the Plein Air Reception. When the Wildwood Celebration Commission was working with us on some of the art events throughout the year, there was always an intent that we'd have a plein air event. And the plein air event's kind of they come, the artists, the photographers comes, they go out to their location, they come back and drop off and they're done. So the reception was a way to kind of bring them together, to have an opportunity to kind of talk about the event, share stories, and then do the awards. It's an expensive event. For a event we don't necessarily charge a great deal of money. So we're recommending that the reception be eliminated. It's just not something I think necessarily improves the quality of the plein air event or the photography or artwork. And it's certainly something I don't think we need to do any longer.
Got it.
The last of those is the monthly scrapbooking. And what we find there is it's a consistent group. We have anywhere from about 10 to 15 each month, but it's the same group and we're not getting new people to come. And it is an expensive event each month. And the idea would be, instead of having them monthly, to have 2 major scrapbooking weekends. It's a cost savings to the city. And the scrapbooking weekends seem to draw a lot more interest. And certainly they seem to have a lot of fun from what I can see from watching them and just seeing them on the Friday that they come into City Hall. Kathy orchestrates that and she may want to talk about it, but with the elimination of the monthly scrapbooking, we were thinking that we could still save money and still meet that demand by having, let's say, instead of 1 weekend event, 2 per year. Kathy, anything you want to add on that?
No, I think you touched on it. The monthly event, we actually probably get closer to 25 people, but you're right. It's the same group. And it is expensive, and what we provide is what kind of makes the event. And if we take away the food and the snacks and those kinds of things, we're just giving them a room to come scrapbook for a few hours. And I think it just doesn't make the event one that we would be proud of. And I think they do enjoy having the very long stretch of time to get big projects done over the weekend. And so we've actually started looking into alternative locations and such for the second one of those. So I think they'll be happy to have an additional weekend event throughout the year. So I think we can appease that group a little bit by, we're taking away, but we're going to offer them something in return. So.
Did you say, Kathy, that you're looking for an alternate location, maybe for the second one of the year?
Yes, we actually toured, myself and Chris Parker and Bree toured LaSalle Retreat Center. They offer quilting retreats. They'll do scrapbook retreats and such. So we'll just have to adjust the fee. But yes, we've looked at the hotel, which can be very expensive, but is, a whole different level of fancy. So we'll have to see what the participants are interested in. But there's a variety of, there's the Marianist Retreat Center as well that we'll investigate.
But I was thinking, Julian, I didn't know if this would, your friend that has the workspace, if that would be a potential area for them, or if that's big enough.
It could be. Most of that space is divided up into cubicles. There is one kind of open table, but it's a higher kind of bar top table that might not be too conducive for scrapbooking.
Okay.
He does have a boardroom, like a conference room at Architect Now that can fit about 10 or 12 people on a big open board table. Just depends on what the demand is and how many people it might be.
Okay.
And the struggle with the scrapbooking is, especially on a weekend event, we give them each a 6-foot table. They have a lot of stuff and need a lot of space. So a conference room that sits 10 or 12 would seat 3. So,
I
but yeah,
wasn't
I'll get with Julian too and see if there's other locations he can think of.
Well, I knew that his friend was trying to find other uses for that space. I didn't know how big it was or anything. It just came to mind when you were talking.
So why are you looking for a second space?
It's a challenge when we have it at City Hall. The expectation or the assumption is going to be that when the pandemic ends, people are going to really be eager to have a lot of events. And so with the level of staffing that we have, adding another weekend event that literally goes from Friday to Sunday, so somebody has to staff that. And so the thought is, if we have it at a retreat center or something, then a lot of the heavy lifting would be done by the staff at the retreat center. And so it would be a happy medium. We'd be able to provide another weekend event without maybe it being requiring as much staff. You know, we could maybe staff it with just myself or, you know, just 2 people instead of it. At City Hall, it's a lot of work for us all weekend. So.
Good idea.
And I believe the intent of the second event, the scrapbooking weekend, is to make it as close to revenue neutral as possible. Because there appears to be a willingness on the part of the participants to help defray the cost to the city as much as possible. Collectively, with those 4 events eliminated, it's about roughly $27,000 in savings. Then along with that, the second component is fee increases, and we are recommending fee increases to 7 events. Those are the Frozen Feet Half Marathon, the weekend scrapbooking event, the Cabin Fever Hike, the Green Rock Trail Challenge, the Tour to Wildwood, the Shivering Shadows 7K, and then the Early Childhood Recreation Programming. Collectively, with the recommended fee increases, which are nominal, and certainly if the program budget committee members would like to adjust those, they can. But that would be, again, about $20,000 in additional revenue from them, those 7 events, or those 7 categories, so to speak. Collectively, then it comes to about $47,000 in savings and revenue collectively that the department is proposing for 2021.
Joe, what about the Centaur time trial? A pretty popular event, I think, and it draws a specific group of people that I would think maybe might be willing to pay a little bit more, perhaps. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, the only thing we do at the Centaur time trial is offer some portable restroom facilities near the start and finish points.
Okay.
Which ends up being about, I think, $400 to $500.
Okay.
There is a police role, but we let the organizer and the police kind of address that as best as possible.
All right. So we just have a cost here, no revenue at all then.
Right. And it's, again, like I say, just the few portable restroom facilities and the wash station or wash stations.
Okay.
But certainly we could tack on a fee if you want, just even to cover the minimal cost. Like I say, I think the canvas is empty, and we can paint or write whatever we want on it.
Yeah, I had a note next to it to maybe charge an entrance fee to cover that
Okay.
cost.
And that's which one, the Centaur time trial?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
So-
does it mean, paid the tour of St. Louis bicycle races?
There's 3 races over the course of the weekend. There's the Centaur time trial, there's a criterion, and then I think there's I don't know if it's a distance race or what, but it's a series that's held on a single weekend. One of the series is here in Wildwood.
So I may make sure I'm looking at the right place here. Over here, it says that it's only a cost of $215. Is that right? So what was then your suggestion to that?
Well,
What the,
doesn't a cost for the police go along with that, even though it's not really written here?
oh,
Well, typically, as I said, we let the organizer of the event and the police work that out. Certainly, I'm sure there's some charge to the city. But again, like I said, I believe we can, I think it's nice that the city offers events at no charge. I think it's unrealistic to continue forward. So even just a nominal fee would help cover the cost of the portable restroom facilities and defer some of the police costs. So I see nothing wrong with requesting it. If they don't like it, then they'll tell us, and then we can make a decision from there.
yeah.
But
So
again,
is
if
the
it's part of a three-part race, they have to go through Wildwood anyway. It's not like they could carve that out of their race. Is that right, Joe?
Well, I'm sure they could find another location to do the time trial, but I don't think they'll find a cooperative environment that they have between the city of Wildwood and, to a certain degree, the city of Chesterfield, which also, I think I can't think of the church down there on North Etherton Road, Windsor Crossing, the crossing. They orchestrated there for parking and et cetera.
Yeah.
Does Chesterfield charge a fee? Do you know?
Not to my knowledge, but again, all the police come from the city of Wildwood. Chesterfield does not offer any police services in conjunction with it.
Do you have any idea how much the police usually cost?
I don't, but I can find out for you all.
Okay. Lauren, did you have a question?
I sure do. I actually was going to shift a little bit back to the tour to Wildwood, which I have only heard really, really good things about. And I was just wondering if we eliminated the relationship that we have with the Bicycle Federation, do we lose the SAG ride component?
Yes, that is a service they provide, but we could probably find a substitute for that and offer them a nominal fee based compared to what we provide to the Missouri Bicycle Association. For example, TrailNet may be willing to take up the charge of the SAG wagon, or more than likely, we could ask GORC, Gateway Off-Road Cyclists, to assist.
Okay, that's great. I would like to find a way to not make such a substantial contribution to another group, but I also don't want to totally scale the event down.
Well, there's a reason it's capped at 300 participants. The last year before we scaled it back, we had over 1,000 bicyclists go out on the road at that span of time, an hour to an hour and a half. And all of them were advised to adhere to the rules of the road and respect the officers out on the road. And we had nothing but chaos. And I told
I do hear lots of people come into town.
Yep.
Oh,
But I told TrailNet they need to manage the event, and they didn't. And our residents responded in kind because there was a lot of problems out on the road. The 300.
I am so sorry to interrupt. My whole screen froze, and everything that you said after 1,000 participants, I didn't hear a word.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. Can you restate what you just said?
I'll be respectful of time. With 1,000 riders on the road, we had to depend on them to adhere to the rules of the road. They didn't. They got aggressive with the police. The police complained. Our residents complained, and the Planning and Parks Committee made a decision. We don't need an event like that in Wildwood. So we scaled it down to 300, and the problems went away.
Okay, well, it sounds like then if we can get other sponsors like Big Shark again, plus maybe a couple other local bicycle shops that we can, and if we can provide SAG riders, we can still continue then with the 300 cap. Okay.
Certainly, my thought was if we wanted to reduce the size, we could, because that reduced the cost as well. But certainly just retaining the fee will make this a more revenue neutral event than ever before.
Okay, okay. And I had one more question about the board appreciation and the business appreciation event, which I agree that we should continue. I think it's nice to offer something catered for individuals. My question was on the overall cost, and sort of what percentage of that does go to catering. The reason why I ask is because that's almost that's more than $100 a plate for the board appreciation event. And I did a straw poll of my girlfriends that have recently scheduled weddings and have done catering at various venues for different size groups. And the straw poll came back that was pretty high. So I was wondering if a portion of that was for the merchandise that we give out versus the can you help me understand that breakdown a little bit more?
It's the catering costs plus the giveaway that we provide to all the volunteers. And so the giveaway with Mayor Bolin has gotten much better than in past years. He prides himself on getting nice things for our volunteers, which the department wholeheartedly endorses. But yes, it's the combination of the catering and then the gift itself.
Okay, and
I can actually give you the breakdown if
you
you'd like. From the 2019 event, the catering was just over $5,500, so it's like $55 a person, and then the giveaway was $6,700.
Was that the pen?
Yes, that was for the board and commission, and then I've worked with Mayor Bolin each year on the giveaways, and we spend a little more on the board and commission than we do on the businesses. Since nearly every board and commission person is volunteering their time, we figured a $50 or $60 gift is a bargain for the hours that they likely spend in an unpaid role. And then the giveaway for the business appreciation last year was $4,100.
Is there any way we can't combine the two?
We don't have I think we would struggle with the space for several hundred. We can't seat 200 people.
Yeah.
And I mean,
The hotel, I know one year or a couple of years, I don't know if we paid for using the hotel or.
Yes, we do.
Because I just thought, I mean, we're duplicating some of the services by both of those, and that if you combined them, that may cut down on at least catering costs.
only thing we duplicate, well, we really don't if we would double the number of people. You know, it's tables, it's the rental of tables and linens, but we would just need twice as many tables if we had, since we use our own facility.
And the price of food is usually the same. It's per person, right? So,
Right. Exactly.
No, and it's not that. I mean, we have Collier's Jelly or Big Chief or somebody do the catering, I think. What's nice about the board and the commission dinners, that's usually on the night of one of the concerts, I think. Is that not right? Yeah.
Right.
So it's nice that people can have a dinner there in the community room, you know, sit down and talk with your fellow volunteers and commission members and all of that, and then go out and enjoy a really nice concert on Main Street. So
we didn't get to do that this year.
Do what, Joe? I'm sorry.
Yeah, this year, unfortunately, I think the weather did not cooperate, if I recall. But you're right; it is nice that it's combined with a concert night. It's free entertainment.
Well, and I have to say too that these numbers make a lot more sense because I figured the catering would be between 3,000 to 5,000, so that's competitive. And the irony is, as I'm thinking about how to come down on the cost of the gift, right? I mean, I'm using what pen am I using, right? Yeah.
So it's lasting long. Keep using it.
So the Green Rock Trail Challenge, could we charge an entrance fee for that?
Yes, and that's what we're recommending, adding a $20 entry fee.
Yeah.
Actually, I would probably say it should be $25. I think that's
25 is what I wrote down.
okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at this, and I guess maybe just to kind of make sure that there's no question or any kind of other idea regarding what you started with, Joe, the 4 program events that you and staff looked at and said, it's probably a good idea or recommendation for elimination. What I'm looking at is I look at the total cost or the net cost, and then I look at the number of people that attended. And there's some obvious ones where the cost per person is quite up there. And so I think it makes sense. Like you said, Arbor Day, be brave. Unfortunately, looks like that event just has never picked up the attendance. And so it's on the high end. We end up paying $86 per person for the number of participants over the net cost over there. If I read this correctly, yeah, 125 people. So I think that makes sense there. And then the family snow sports day. I mean, that seems like it's about $30 a person what it comes out to, but that's about the price of a ticket that they probably can get over there.
And there's been registration concerns for the family's snow sports day. They have people complain they didn't think it was fair, the time that the tickets are offered and the number of tickets that are offered. And so I know there's been some complaints about that in the past.
Yeah,
now, I don't
it's like
know. So I don't
first
know
come,
if it's
first
the same
served.
price of a ticket if they get it through us or if they get it through somebody else.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it all depends. I don't know if that includes the ski rental or not. But I think given the circumstances that we're in, it doesn't include it, Joe?
No, it's just the recipient of one of the passes has a choice between tubing or skiing.
Oh,
And if they
okay.
ski, they still have to either bring their own equipment or rent equipment.
Got it. And then what was the other one? It was family. So we looked at family snow, Arbor Day. Oh, the reception. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And then the scrapbooking was the 4th.
Yeah. Yeah. The reception, I think that makes sense because even the event itself has already a cost per person that is on the high end there. Although, it's not a whole cumulative large cost, but the reception does end up taking a lot of it there. So I think that's a good idea because we could still keep the event. And then
Certainly,
you said,
we could charge a fee.
yeah,
I've debated back and forth, or I should say we debated back and forth. We charge a day registration, if you register the day of the event, there is a $10 nominal fee. But I think it'd be fair to consider adding one just for everyone, maybe
What?
$20.
What event is that?
The Plein Air art event.
The event or the
there's
reception?
revenue.
Yeah, I wrote that down too.
Yeah, I mean,
Agree in the beginning to try and get the event up and going, but I feel like we're at a point now where we have a steady participation rate, and charging a nominal fee would I think be
I
appropriate.
think that's a good thing from a registration perspective. I mean, I don't know if it's an issue or not, but if there's no charge, it's a lot easier for someone who just decides that day, you know what, I don't feel like going, no cost to me. Whereas there's more of a commitment, if they put even $10 down. And then the last thing you said, scrapbooking. Yeah, that one really was at the top of the list there. That, with such a small attendance and the cost involved there, I think I figured out about 135 a person is what's going towards that event. So that is a lot of money when we're benefiting such a small segment of the
You're talking about scrapbooking, Joe?
Yeah, I think your idea of putting it into maybe another weekend event just makes sense.
in that $2,500 cost, no, I guess that's $5,900 cost. That doesn't cover the cost of staff manning that.
No,
Those are
but that $5,900 cost is over 9 events. So the 25 registrants is at each event. So by the time they pay a fee, it's not quite that high because the entry number wasn't multiplied by 9 because it would have been 25 times 9 instead of, so it would be you'd be dividing that 5,850 by 200.
Okay.
25.
Yeah. So it's like $25 a person is what the cost winds up being.
Okay.
And we're charging 15.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I don't see why we couldn't do 20, and then that would help cover the cost of staff.
Well, we're actually recommending we eliminate the monthly scrapbooking and
And you
just
go
do,
twice a year.
yep.
So I don't know why we couldn't charge a $20 fee instead of a $15 fee.
Well, I think the intent with the weekend events is to make them revenue neutral or as close as possible.
And 15 would do that.
No, we'll eliminate that monthly one. That's the $15. That one's just going to go away. So that's 9 times a year, and we wouldn't have that at all. So that $5,800 is completely cost savings. We would add another weekend event, which holds 50 or more scrapbookers, but we could maybe, by eliminating the $5,800, we wouldn't have to charge quite so much, but we would charge more to make it close to or revenue neutral. So it would just be 2 weekend events, not the 9 monthly events.
Got it.
That makes
And
sense.
Got it.
Lauren, is your question, your hand up, is that related to this as well, or is it a separate item?
Yes and yes.
Okay.
So I have one comment on Plein Air and one comment on the scrapbooking.
Okay, yeah, I have a comment too on scrapbooking. So why don't you do the scrapbooking, and then let's see if we can close out that one, and then we'll come back to Plein Air.
It's a long shot, but would someone like Michael's ever corporately sponsor an event like this and then also promote it locally?
We actually talked to them about doing almost like an educational component where they would, we would partner with them and they could maybe teach a technique or something like that. And they do that only within their store. They don't have like a community outreach or anything that they do. So.
Okay, and Joanne's is probably the same way then, I would imagine.
Likely, I think those larger corporate agencies, what we had done in the past is we worked with like a Creative Memories rep to kind of have some product there available for sale. That runs into a whole other slew of issues that we eliminated and don't necessarily want to return to. There's a whole lot of those reps in Wildwood, and it's just a whole thing. So I'd rather charge a little bit more from the attendees and not have any of those issues.
Okay, I like the recommendation as is. I just wasn't sure if Michael's would swoop in and brand something and have freebies for all the participants, but that was obviously a pipe dream. What if we change the Plein Air to $10 to pre-register and 15 day of?
That's entirely up to the
Well,
committee.
I had 10 and 20 is what I had.
Well, I guess, maybe take that into consideration, and, Joe, Kathy, you want to think about it and see what would be receptive to that group while at the same time preserving the intent.
And I did have just one other general comment as this committee looks at recommendations, and it's not on here and it shouldn't have been, but I think it would be appropriate for the committee to maybe make a statement about a post-COVID future revenue generating event. We saw a really good replacement model for the barbecue bash presented by the WBA and what was anticipated to be a revenue generating model. We haven't had an opportunity to try that as a city, and I would like to try that in the future, and see if that's something that works for us, at least as an event once a year. Not only to cover the cost, but maybe have costs to pay for some of these other events on this list. And I would certainly hope that that as a committee, maybe we can make a general statement that we'd like to try that as a city in the future to see if that model works out. I mean, the way I kind of see that is the same way colleges run sports, right? So there's two big revenue generating sports. That's football and basketball. And a common misconception is that sometimes universities spend a lot of money on them, but it's usually the opposite. They usually generate revenue, pay for their own scholarships, and then pay for other sports, soccer, volleyball, track and field. And the way I see this is we've got some really valuable things, and Plein Air is the soccer event, and Scrapbooking is the track and field event. And if we can do something at another event that's appropriate to pay for that, that would be great to try. I don't think it's, right to try it at Celebrate Wildwood, but if we can try the wristband model that was presented by the WBA, at least we would know, how well it works in the future.
Well, maybe that will be the opportunity to see how that works out, if it's possible in 2021 to do. And that has come up, if I recall correctly. We talked about the WBA maybe being a component. And in fact, now it's coming to my mind, during the meeting, we did talk about, when I say the meetings, the Celebrate Wildwood meeting, we discussed inviting the WBA to come to the next meeting, I think, to discuss that so that we can incorporate it as part of the event in 2021. And so I think we have a good opportunity to see if, give it a test run, because, it does sound good from what we hear and see on paper. We'd love to see that it works in reality, and then we can maybe grow that there. So I think you got the right point there. I did want to make a comment there. Let me see. Oh, lastly, just the scrapbooking. You had mentioned earlier that a significant amount of the cost to scrapbooking, the monthly scrapbooking, was because of food, if I recall. So is there any consideration for the folks, I know that they do like that scrapbooking, where maybe we could still provide the facility for it, the room, but maybe they come with their own snacks. I think that, maybe the socializing is what they like. And of course, nice that the food is there provided by the city, but if they bring their own food and snacks, there's nothing that holds back the group from wanting to go ahead and meet monthly if the room's available during the day.
I know a lot of the trivia nights, they bring their own snacks. And I think you're right. I think it's more the socialization than the food.
Yeah, so I don't want to break up the group, give them a chance to still want to meet, if that's an option. I don't know if there's other costs involved or.
Well, the concern that the department would hold about having individuals bring prepared food from their homes to participate, if they shared it, there's just a liability issue. The reason we provide the food is we source it, we know where it's coming from, we're responsible for it, and then there's not much question about if somebody goes home and gets sick. We know where it came from and how it got prepared, and we can then address it with that caterer.
Yep, there's a reason. I understand now. Yeah.
Can we, what about charging a fee for the Green Rock Trail Challenge?
We are recommending a new fee of $20 per participant. I actually, after we talked a bit, I've raised it to 25, if that's okay with all of you.
I had 25 down.
Okay.
Is there any way to reduce the cost of the back to school party? I'm not by any means saying get rid of it. It's necessary, and people have there's a lot of people that attend. But is there any way at all that we could reduce some of the costs somehow?
There is. Obviously, what we ended up doing is that we've basically created another summer concert, and then we brought in the bubble bus, all the bounce houses, the gentleman on stilts, the face painters, the balloon artist. So it's actually a mini Celebrate Wildwood in some regard,
Mhm. Yeah.
but it is probably the per square foot. That's the most packed in crowd I think I've ever seen at
Yeah.
one of our events. It's popular. It's hard to move around even sometimes.
There's free hot dogs and slushies and things like that, right, Joe?
Yeah. It is a really fun event.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the event that I think last year, not last year, the year before, right, Lauren and you and Ken and I think others were giving out the drinks and stuff when we were there. That's right. The city team was just, told to take a break, and then that was good.
Well, maybe
So-
the COVID will be gone by the end of summer and we can have that event this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Mr. Cutchin, with your permission, we can look at it. I can, to Kathy, Bree, Gary, and I can maybe look at what we've got, the components, and maybe have a better answer at the next meeting.
Well, and I don't know since some of the apparently council members helped that day. I mean, if all the council members helped, would that reduce any of the costs for staff or take time so staff could have some time off or?
'Cause
No?
this cost is not staff costs.
Well, I'm assuming most of it's not staff costs.
Right.
That's
yeah.
correct.
It's bounce houses. They're expensive.
So,
Yeah.
They love them though.
well, I met the guy, so maybe I'll see him on Saturday. I'll negotiate a lower price for us.
Sounds good.
I'm going to a shop on Saturday, so we'll see.
Never
So,
hurt to ask.
Joe?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Steve, go ahead.
I was going to ask Mr. Vunich. Joe, you have mentioned, your philosophy and how Wildwood was formed, and I think we all have a very good understanding, and we don't disagree with what makes Wildwood Wildwood and what makes a city and about events and free events and so forth. So you gave a very impassioned speech, maybe at the last committee meeting and so forth, and it was a very good one. So my question is, and so I'm sure it was hard to eliminate some of these events because of your philosophy. My question to you is, are there any events that you're kind of on the bubble with, that where you might have an opportunity to charge a fee, trying to balance how you feel that we as a city what services and events we should provide to our residents. The four that you've talked about were pretty low hanging fruit, it seems. But are there any others that you're kind of on the fence that maybe you might think about, or you guys talked about, potentially charging a fee for?
Well, I'll let maybe Kathy chime in, but the struggle has been the Celebrate Wildwood event and the art festival. I mean, that's well into $140,000 of the total cost of what we do. And I don't know if there's a better way to approach it or not, but that's where I'll spend most of my time with the commission over the upcoming year, trying to figure out ways to keep the quality of the event high, and maybe find ways to reduce the cost.
I think if we combine them, we reduce the cost quite a bit.
Yeah,
Well,
we have the purist. Sorry, Mr. Garitano. We have the purist,
go ahead.
the art, and that you don't get fine art when the kids are running around soaking wet from the bounce houses. It's just the two don't kind of meld together well, and that's why we separated them. We may
Well,
have
maybe
to
if
try.
you did the layout a little bit differently, maybe that would help. I know at one point we had them both together.
And we were criticized for that by some of the artists and some of the participants that came to buy the art. I'm hopeful, though, that when we move to the Village Green site, we will have enough room to actually have 2 events, but not make them so kind of packed together.
Joe, the $11,200 revenue for Celebrate Wildwood, that's the number we built in the budget for sponsorships. Is that what that 11.2 represents?
Sponsorships are greater than that generally.
That's what I was thinking. So I wonder, there really is some offsetting revenue to that 84 or the total cost of $84,000 because we built in, I don't know, maybe it was, I don't remember the number. Was it 40 grand or 30 grand or it was a pretty large number that we made an assumption that we would get in sponsorships for the Celebrate Wildwood event.
And I'm gonna have to check that. Like I say, some are in kind, but some, like Three French Hens, she always provides at least $1,000, if not more. A lot of the businesses do step up as well. So that's one we probably.
11.2, our sponsorships were down in 2019. Three French Hens is always a $1,000 sponsor, but 11.2 represents the sponsorships we did get in 2019. And that was low. In 2018, we had 12.5. In 2017, we had 16,750 plus a $5,000, or that included a $5,000 Meridian sponsorship. The year before, we had 15,000, which included a $5,000 Meridian sponsorship. In 2015, we had 21,750, but that included a $10,000 Meridian sponsorship. So when Meridian quit sponsoring the fireworks, that's when our revenues dropped. And so they've stayed steady if you pull out that $5,000 or $10,000 sponsorship. So
the 2021 budget, Joe, we built in $46,500 in revenue for sponsorships for 2021.
Is that sponsorships only, or does that also include art festival participant entry fees? Well, we do make some money off that.
Well, the line item that is just under other income for Celebrate Wildwood, and that was a number that in talks with the mayor and when we were looking for revenue and so forth, said, let's assume approximately half of our costs, at that time, maybe, 90,000 or so at the time, half of it we're going to get covered by sponsorships. That was the thinking behind that number.
That would be a large change from years
Yes.
past and would require a completely different approach from how the commission handles sponsorships.
Okay, yeah, because I guess at that time we were looking at a $93,000 cost thereabouts. And so he said, put in 50% that we're going to get covered by sponsorship. So anyway, that's in the budget.
Well, I wouldn't see, it looks like we don't charge an entry fee for the booths or for the art fair
Yes, we do.
participants. I don't know why we couldn't charge a fee for the booths and the art festival as well. If you had a sliding scale for the nonprofits versus revenue generating participants.
Yes, we the only participants at Celebrate Wildwood that do not pay a booth fee are not-for-profits. All the others do. So the artists pay $125 for their tent space and then a $25 jury fee. The businesses, the restaurants pay a fee, but we do not ask for a share of their profits during the event. We just charge them a flat rate fee.
I must be looking at the wrong column because where it says charges to attendees, it says 0 for both of those. So you're talking about people who actually.
That's the people who come to the event. Yeah. There's no fee to attend the event.
I got it. But we do charge for some of the participants, but it's just not on here. Is that correct?
Sure doesn't look like it is, and that's a mistake on my part because we do generate additional revenue just from the charges for space, etc.
I think it's on the other document because I remember seeing one of the booth fees was $25, if I remember right. Yeah, it's on the next PDF.
On the next. Did you see that?
What do you
Lauren?
mean on the fee schedule?
Yep.
Oh,
mhm.
it's on the fee schedule. I'm a proponent though of combining those two events if there's any way to do that, because some of it is double cost. And we've done it in the past and I mean, you all know better than I, but I didn't hear a ton of complaints by when we had it.
Well, if you, it might be good. You might want to come to a future Celebrate Wildwood meeting.
Yes,
The
I
way
know.
the way I would describe it, the impression I get is kind of exactly like what Joe said, is that, think of Celebrate Wildwood as that big party, and the art festival is more of your fine dining, and it has that different. The last time we did it, it was definitely a different feel. It was more relaxed. You had, the music is different in the art festival than you see it here in Celebrate Wildwood. Celebrate Wildwood's a big party. Everybody's just out having a good time, and art festival is more of, have your cup of wine, walk around, yeah, and enjoy and appreciate the art, and get some food, sit down. It's a different, ambiance to it. So that's
I
the
mean,
that's the
maybe even,
desire. That's what they want to desire to have, and that's according to the committee. I'm sorry to cut you off before you jumped in. Is they say that that is what the art festivals are like, and that's what they want this to grow and become.
well, if I think Joe made a good suggestion, if we have, since we have the land next to the city hall, maybe if we split it up, but we still would save some money and cut down on the double cost.
That might be, yeah. And I
I mean,
think
I
the
think it'd be
committee's
worth
gone back
trying
and
for a
forth.
year.
They were going to combine it anyway.
This year,
Yeah.
this upcoming year.
I do think if it's at two different places, right? If one's in front of City Hall and one's at a future Village Green, you're actually doubling the cost if you need additional porta potties or electric run, because it's not in the same geographic location. But I do think that this committee, besides a formal, recommended budget change, like what we're doing now, so signing off on a spreadsheet, in addition to what I mentioned earlier, a statement in support of trying a revenue generating model with the WBA. I think we do need a general statement about what we hope the Village Green has so that we can have these types of events that are spread out, that includes a permanent sound stage, it includes electric to different tree outlets, that meets, anticipating future times where we need to spread out, 6 feet apart again, because it will be in my lifetime again. And whatever infrastructure we need for restrooms. I do think this, because we know that that's going to decrease our overall costs, and we're just paying for a band every year, not paying for a sound stage. So I think a formal statement from this committee would be appropriate. The other thing too is, economic development's talked about it, Ken brought it up. Maybe we can work something out with the WBA in the future where we also try a different model at the art fair. So it still has the same feel, it still has the same music, but maybe we make it more of a Taste of Wildwood event, with a wine event where we're selling wristbands, for
No,
food or for the food trucks, and generate some revenue that way to
it
help support.
basically, I mean, I would say it basically is a little bit of that. And in the, I don't know if it was the last one or the one before, but we had, I think it was table 3 at the time. They had a nice table set up with all wines. And then the vendors, you have that nice relaxing music compared to the Celebrate Wildwood, which is the big party. And, it celebrate and in the art festival, you've got your food vendors and you're sitting there relaxing. We've got a good choice of different food vendors there, from, Super Smokers Barbecue, Noto Pizza, which is popular, and many others. So it is a way where that can also go in that direction even more. And that's exactly what that committee
Yeah.
wants it to be.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. And the folks that are on the committee, especially the more vocal ones about the art festival, they know from being involved in other art festivals that, that's what those types of events are like in other cities.
Well, I
So
think
I
it's
think,
a good idea down the road, but I think since we're kind of in a budget crunch, I think it behooves us to put those two events together.
well,
And
that was
modify.
the
They already
plan.
are,
That was the
yeah.
plan already. That was actually the plan for 2020. And then we just kind of went with just Celebrate Wildwood right now, 2021. But that was exactly what they would have done. They would have combined it. We've got the drawings where I think the top of the garage would be the art festival, so it's somewhat separated from the Celebrate Wildwood. So that's definitely Plan B. There's a plan for that. All right. Well,
Chair, just like to bring to your attention the time.
yeah, I was noticing that too. Well,
Okay.
I think we have a lot of good discussion here, and I haven't heard any objections. I think there's some feedback for Joe and Kathy, and I think Kathy, you've been noting that. What'd you say, Lauren or Debbie?
Do I
Deborah?
need to make a motion so that we have some sort of draft statement that we need to review
Well,
next time, or?
Before you do that, I had two other items.
Yeah, well, I would say, it may not be that we're finalized tonight. Maybe they're going to go and we'll do it when they come back, because we did ask them about looking at some potential, revenue cost per person numbers, and then we can do a motion once it's all done, the recommendation to send it in. But Deborah, what did you say you had?
Well, I meant for staff to come back with a draft statement about the Village Green and trying a new revenue model with the WBA, not for a motion to approve any numbers tonight.
I don't know that a motion would be necessary
Okay.
to make. I mean, I think that's just something we'll certainly be talking with them in the Celebrate Wildwood next. I don't know if it's the next meeting we're going to have them, but I know that was the intent, was to try to get Emily Willis there. But I think we're already going down the path. I don't think there's objections. But Deborah and then Steve Cross.
So I had one question. Are the Zoom bingo and the Zoom trivia, is that for the prizes? Is that what the cost is for?
We have to, like in the case of trivia, we pay a small fee for the software that allows us to orchestrate it via the internet. But most of it is the prizes, the t-shirts, the beach towels. And we also use those, just so you know, we get requests from a lot of churches, places of worship, the charitable organizations for baskets for auctions. And so we use the t-shirts and beach towels in those as well. So
And then my other one is Babysitting 101.
Mhm.
So there's no charge, there's no fee for the, is that the right one? There's no fee for the participants. And so if you even charge the $10 fee or $5 fee, it's going to recover quite a bit of the cost, because I did the math on that.
Yes, and for whatever reason, we partner with St. Louis Children's Hospital. They send out an instructor, and it's a half-day class. And at the end of the class, we have Emo's Pizza. That's what it is. And we use the Emo's over at West Glen Farms, keep it local.
And you know what? We're the only host of that event in the region that feeds those kids. Every other city, they pack a lunch or they go home hungry. And so every time they come, Children's Hospital is like, you guys are the best. So that's just one of those. I mean, it's no skin off my teeth if you want to charge for Babysitting 101, but that is a great example of how we do things a little differently in Wildwood, and it is recognized and known. And man, those kids, and it's always the skinniest little girls that eat the most pizza I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I was just going by, because I know a lot of times for those type of classes, there's a fee charged. So is Children's Hospital charging a fee for the event?
No,
No.
it's
'Cause I
part
know
of their
We
outreach.
even look in some of the hospitals' brochures, they charge fees for those two classes.
We've always had a good relationship with St. Louis Children's Hospital. Ted Barklage, who used to work with the city, his mom was, I think, maybe directed the program or was an employee in the program, but it just has worked out nice. And much to my surprise, they're always full too.
Just a thought.
Well, we'll
Right,
circle it.
so I guess we've got, good traction on this, and we'll be revisiting this. So this is no way finalized, this particular sheet. Steve, are you raising your hand because of the next item on the agenda?
No, I just wanted to circle back
Oh.
quickly to Joe. I had asked the question about if you were on the bubble for any items about charging. We then went off on the Wildwood celebration and so forth. So I just wanted to come back because I don't know if you were able to answer, give a full answer, if there were other line items that, again, given where you're coming from, but if there's some items that you feel potentially, where that you would feel comfortable given where you're coming from, being able to charge a fee or something.
Ones that the department recommended are the ones I feel most comfortable with. And I'd rather retain events and try to reduce the cost on the art festival and celebrate Wildwood. So that's why you got the answer you got, Steve. I think if we start cutting any more events,
Well, I wasn't suggesting cutting. I was talking about just about an entrance fee. No, I'm not suggesting cutting events.
Yeah.
Those events where it's easy to collect a fee either through the website or at the event itself, we've added the fee. The others, like the concerts, back to school party, they come in from every angle. I just wouldn't know how to do it, nor would I necessarily want to. But that's your call, not mine.
No, sir, I understand.
I think this has been
We
good.
can't charge people to walk on our trails.
The mayor would like to try.
He would. He absolutely would. Or when we get the village green, he wants to charge people to use our water feature, but good luck.
That's it. You put a quarter in and you watch the water feature go. No, I mean, there is an expectation. I'll admit I'm going to pontificate here. I mean, there is an expectation that, we collect revenues, sales taxes and stuff. So, I mean, I think there, at least in my opinion, there are some things that, it's impossible to collect the revenue fee. And I think that's a fair cost the city should assume. It's part of the services that we provide to our citizens. Not only do we do streets, snow plows, and, all these other things, but, parks and recreation are part of the offerings. So it doesn't have to be every single item that's revenue neutral. There's some that I think it's the cost of running a city.
Right.
So,
Gotta get
all right,
the soccer team paid for by the football team. Back to that analogy.
There you go.
We cut 17% of our cost in our proposal.
That's great.
We got it down to $228,000, which is about 2% of the budget. And I think we could also have a meeting with Public Works and cut a few hundred slab replacements, and we'd all be Vince Stephen.
That's it. Yeah. Well, okay.
Well, and then if you add some of the additional ones, and that we talked about tonight, we're even going to decrease it more than 17%. So I think.
Yep. I guess I would just conclude by saying, if in your memories, your fondest memories of Wildwood, if one includes you driving on a street that doesn't have snow because it's been salted versus one that you've been out on the trail and you've had a wonderful experience and you sit down with other trail users and have a nice lunch and you keep coming back year in and year out because it's a highlight of the year. So I appreciate the need to be responsible, but memories aren't necessarily made through public works and planning. It's made in parks.
Good point.
Well,
that's why I was so bent on those holiday lights. I wasn't gonna let that one go.
I'm in.
Yeah, well, it is beautiful. I have to say that the city is just looking amazing. Is the Taylor and Manchester little roundabout going to have lights there?
It's coming.
Okay, good. But yeah, what I've seen so far, it just looks amazing.
Well, if you guys could see out this window here and look up here at, man.
Yeah.
That's fantastic up there. There's blue lights and white lights and flashing lights. And
I was looking, I see still some trees that could use some lights, and I have a couple extra light sets. I was wondering if I just go over there and, adopt a tree, but
Hey,
I
Joe,
didn't
we
know
don't
who to
want you
ask.
climbing up on a ladder. We need you for other things, you know, don't go killing yourself, okay?
Okay.
One last
Remember,
thing,
Kathy
please
said
don't
you're
leave.
old.
Please don't leave the meeting not knowing that we appreciate your support of Parks and Recreation. We do very much. Thank you.
Mhm. All right. Well, we have 6:10 right now, so I don't know how far we'll get into it. Steve, is the next item maybe just an introduction and then we'll continue it at the next one?
It really is. I mean, this is a listing of the current fees for just a whole host of things. So, you know, however, Chair Garetano, you'd like to approach it. But this fee schedule has not been updated in a while. So we can, you know, because again, given the lateness of the hour, maybe it's just an introduction, you know, here it is. And at the next meeting, you know, or come back with emails, however, and say, you know, if you have suggestions in terms of some things where you think maybe that fee could be increased.
Well, maybe make a suggestion and see if you know, Deborah and Lauren are thinking the same thing, because it seemed to go really well with what we just did. But I mean, looking at the fee schedule here, I don't know what you know, let's say a vacation of the subdivision fee rate is. What's the going rate these days? I don't go to the store to vacate a subdivision all the time. So would it make sense, you know, is that something that maybe you want to take this and do something similar to say, come back with like a recommendation, keep as is or updated up to a new amount? And I imagine that would be something that maybe you look at, what is the going rate, you know, to keep us aligned with other cities so that we're not more, but we're not less either. We're just, you know, you know, kind of in there, you know, at the same kind of rate that or fee that most cities are doing. I mean, I
Right.
don't know what a liquor license fee goes for, you know, or not, but you know, just things like that, so that this way, you know, we're just kind of in line with everyone else. And that I think would be the first key indicator, you know, just to tell us, you know, there where there's opportunities, because I think there's going to be. I mean, from what I've heard, this has not been touched in years.
Correct.
Years is multiple years. I don't know, maybe even a decade or something. So,
The zoning fees are 25 years old.
yeah. So, you know, right now we might be the best deal in town. Uh, but I don't know. Maybe that's something that just, you know, it's something
I
you
think
might
your
want to look at.
suggestion is an appropriate one. I'll carry the water here. And I think actually Julian had reached out to, you know, an organization where other municipalities, SLACMA, and I think we got a couple responses back. So we'll sit down and yeah, we'll go through this and you know, bring Joe in, Kathy in, and plus see what other municipalities are doing and be prepared to give you some feedback at the next meeting then.
You know,
Yeah.
at the very least, you could adjust to the percent of inflation that's occurred in the last 25 years.
Yeah.
No, seriously, but it would still probably be less than other municipalities. But at least then, when somebody notices a percentage increase and says, "Why did this increase that much?" we could actually say, "This is the change in inflation in the last time," you know, as opposed to being accused of, you know, raising something at such a significant amount, because that's what happens when a significant amount of time passes. It goes up a bigger percentage than what people would expect it to.
Mhm. Okay.
So I think there's some opportunity now. Like some things are newer here, like the Wildwood Community Park Pavilion rental. Obviously, that's probably not more than what, 4-5 years since that opened up.
Mhm.
But you know, it may not need change, and you know, maybe we're doing good with it, or you know, you may end up looking at it and saying, you know what, maybe we bring the resident rate down and the non-resident rate goes up, or something like that. Or if we already are booking it at the current rate and it's doing great and selling out, maybe it's fine the way it is.
We'll take a look at it and we'll be prepared to provide some feedback at the next meeting for sure.
Okay, so that sounds good. Lauren, Deborah, you good with that? Any
Yes.
other direction? Okay, then we'll
Um,
do that.
just
Yep.
one off the top, and it's because I get a lot of comments about that. Can you really look at the soliciting fee?
We're just not going to allow solicitors in the city of Wildwood.
That would be great. I think, yeah, I agree.
All
Well,
right.
there actually are not solicitors now, at least legally.
I know.
I put out an email and we are not issuing solicitors permits at the present time because of COVID. So there should not be anybody going to any door to door in the city of Wildwood now. If they are, they're doing it without a permit because we've stopped doing that.
Well, I can't tell you how many come to my door without a permit because I always ask them if they have a permit.
You know, that's good to know because there was a solicitor not too long ago at my door and I didn't know that.
You can
had
ask them for a
stopped
permit and if they say they don't have one, or where they say I left it in the car, you can say no, you didn't, because we haven't. And they're only good for a very short period of time, maybe a week or something like that, or a few days. So if they say they don't, they don't have one, and therefore they are trespassing, and they're also operating illegally in the city of Wildwood, and you have the right to call the police.
Okay.
I know that seems to be a big issue with residents, all the solicitors. So,
Well, we aren't issuing permits, so they are doing it illegally.
I just looked up the inflation change from 1995 to 2020, and it's an additional 71 cents per every dollar. So it's almost a 70% increase.
Wow.
It's a lot.
Okay. Well, good. Thanks for looking at that. I think you got good direction there. And seeing that there's nothing else in the agenda, and we do want to give everybody a quick break here before admin public works.
Can I ask one question real quick?
Yeah.
With this meeting being changed, our next meeting right now is scheduled for December 10th. That's only 9 days away. And I don't know if that's enough time to get the fees,
No.
and if we want to keep that date or push it off till after the first of the year.
I'm all right if you want to wait till after the beginning of the year. I mean, I don't think that's going to change anything. If we come up with something, we can, then we'll have to figure out when it becomes effective. But, we're not changing anything with the budget for 2021. I mean, that's already moving forward.
December 9th is also the Ward 5 meeting.
So they're going
This
to be
was the
hungover
December
from-
10th.
They're going to be hungover. They got the meeting the day before.
Well, we're going to have wine and art and refreshments and giveaway. We thought we'd match Ward 8. So.
Oh no. You guys throw the big party. All right. Yeah, so I'm fine with that unless anybody else has any other suggestion for a future meeting date.
Well, we're skipping the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting on January 4th. So if you wanted to meet that Monday.
That would be a day that you guys would have off. So I wrote.
Right. Joe can't stand it.
Give that.
Yeah.
Let's not have a meeting. Wait, let's fill it up.
No. We're going to need some time to do
I hope his wife is watching. Diane, nobody wants a meeting on January 4th.
No. Please.
All I can say is Joe must have a very understanding wife.
We need more time.
Well, why don't you just propose some dates by email and we'll respond back. We got
Send an
time.
email for whatever my boss tells me to. Sorry, Joe.
That doghouse room we discussed earlier is no longer vacant.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I'm all for giving staff time off whenever that's possible.
Yeah, we may as well not start you that quick because it's going to start anyway.
And the holidays are going to be in there. You need to give some time.
All right. Well, then we'll see what dates come up and you'll just propose them and we'll figure it out. Okay, I think that's it. Steve, that gives you 10 minutes to stretch. Joe, I think are you done for the night now or do you have? Oh, then yeah, you better get going. All right. Well, Kathy, thanks. And Julian, who's there in spirit, I'm sure he's not even.
I'm here, guys.
He's on board.
I'm here. I've been in the car the whole time.
He's driving in the car headed to some fun.
Oh, all right. Well, sounds good. You might want to put it back on mute. The party's loud over there, Julie.
There's a party in
Thanks,
the car.
guys.
All right. Well, let me see. What else do we have? Is that it? Is it? So adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn? All right, made by Councilmember McCutcheon, second by Councilmember Edens. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All right, meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Steve,